Archangel Michael warns, a cycle is about to end. Don't scroll. Listen to this, because this message is for you, and your heart needs this right now, and I'm not saying that casually or dramatically, I'm saying it because something in you already felt the pull before your eyes ever landed here, and that pull is not random, it's alignment, it's timing. It's the universe interrupting your moment to whisper something sacred into your spirit, so take a breath, slow down for just a second, and listen to this. Archangel Michael is stepping forward with a warning that is also a promise, and the message is clear. A cycle in your life is about to end, not someday, not eventually, but soon, closer than you think, and that's why this feels intense. That's why emotions you thought were settled are resurfacing, that's why you've been feeling restless, reflective, nostalgic, and strangely hopeful all at once, because your soul already knows what your mind is still trying to process, and don't scroll because this part matters. The cycle ending isn't just about circumstances, it's about identity, it's about who you had to be to survive versus who you are finally allowed to become. And listen to this. This message is for you if you've been stuck in repeating patterns, repeating relationships, repeating disappointments, repeating prayers that felt unanswered, because the repetition was never meant to break you, it was meant to wake you up, and your heart needs this right now because you've been carrying guilt for outgrowing situations that once felt like home, you've been questioning yourself for wanting more peace, more honesty, more love, more alignment, but Archangel Michael is saying, clearly, you are not asking for too much, you were just asking the wrong places, and don't scroll, stay with me. Because the reason this cycle is ending now is because you're finally strong enough to not chase what's leaving and wise enough to recognize what's arriving, and yes, there is a soulmate connection tied to this ending. Whether that soulmate is someone returning in truth or someone new entering with clarity, the universe had to clear the old energetic contracts first, and that's why certain people pulled away, conversations stalled, emotions cooled, or situations collapsed without warning, not because you failed, but because divine timing stepped in when you were about to settle for less than your soul's assignment. And listen to this. Your spiritual awakening didn't begin with light, it began with exhaustion, with asking, why does this keep happening, with nights where you felt alone even when surrounded, but those moments were sacred initiation points, and angel numbers were not coincidences. 1111 reminding you that alignment is near, 222 telling you balance is being restored, 55 signaling rapid change whether you feel ready or not, and don't scroll, because this is where it gets personal. Archangel Michael is warning you that if you try to carry the old version of yourself into the next chapter, it will feel heavy, uncomfortable, and unstable, not as punishment, but as protection, because the next season requires honesty, courage, and boundaries you didn't have before. And your heart needs this right now because you've been blaming yourself for endings that were actually divine exits. You stayed longer than you were supposed to because you're loyal, because you love deeply, because you believe in fixing things, but listen carefully, not everything broken is yours to repair, some things are meant to end so you can finally rest, and don't scroll. This is important, because once this cycle closes, things will move faster than you expect, clarity will replace confusion, peace will replace anxiety, and you'll look back and realize that what felt like delay was actually preparation. And here's the emotional truth you haven't said out loud. You're tired of being strong in silence, you're tired of explaining yourself to people who never really listened, you're tired of loving halfway and being met with uncertainty. And Archangel Michael sees that fatigue and says this ending is mercy, not loss, and listen to this. This message is for you if you felt a pull towards something greater but didn't know how to step into it, because the step isn't action yet, the step is release, letting go of old narratives, old fears, old versions of love that required you to shrink, and don't scroll. Because signs are about to intensify after this, dreams will feel more vivid, memories will resurface for closure, certain songs or names will appear repeatedly, and those are confirmations, not distractions, and your heart needs this right now because deep down you're afraid of what happens when the cycle actually ends. Who will you be without the struggle? But Archangel Michael answers that fear gently. You will be lighter, clearer, and more aligned than you've ever been, and listen to this. What's leaving was never meant to walk with you into your future, it was meant to walk you to the doorway, and now you're standing at that threshold, and don't scroll, because the next part of this message will reveal what happens after the cycle ends, and it's closer than you think, and the universe doesn't want you distracted when the door finally opens. Don't scroll. Listen to this, because if you're still here, it's not by accident, this message is for you, and your heart needs this right now more than you realize, because part 2 begins where the silence started, in that quiet space after the warning, in that strange emotional pause you've been feeling lately, where nothing feels wrong exactly, but nothing feels settled either, and listen to this. Archangel Michael is not just announcing an ending, he's revealing what happens inside you while the cycle collapses, because endings don't begin outside of us, they begin the moment our spirit refuses to pretend anymore, and don't scroll, because this part is deeply personal. This phase you're in right now is the in-between, the sacred liminal space where the old no longer fits but the new hasn't fully arrived, and that's why emotions are unpredictable. One moment you feel powerful and ready, the next moment nostalgic and unsure, and your heart needs this right now because you've been judging yourself for those mixed feelings. But Archangel Michael says this confusion is not weakness, it's recalibration. It's your soul shedding old armor it no longer needs, and listen to this. This message is for you if you've recently felt disconnected from people who once felt essential, not because you stopped caring, but because your frequency shifted, and when that happens, conversations feel forced, patience feels thin, and your spirit craves depth over noise. And don't scroll, stay with me. Because this is where the universe begins testing your readiness, subtle tests, emotional tests, tests of self-respect, where old patterns try one last time to pull you back in, not because they have power, but because cycles always ask one final question: have you really learned the lesson? And your heart needs this right now because you've been tempted to go back, to re-engage, to reopen doors you worked so hard to close, simply because familiarity feels safer than the unknown. But listen carefully. Archangel Michael is warning you that comfort is not the same as alignment, and peace should not require self-betrayal, and don't scroll. Because something big is being prepared behind the scenes, even if your physical reality looks quiet, spiritually things are moving fast, contracts are dissolving, energetic ties are loosening, and your name is being spoken in rooms you've never entered. And listen to this, angel numbers appearing more frequently now are not encouragement to wait, they are confirmations that movement has already begun. 333 signaling divine support around your decisions. 44 reminding you that protection is active even when things feel unstable, and your heart needs this right now because fear has been whispering lies, telling you that if you let go completely you'll lose everything. But Archangel Michael says clearly, you are not losing your life, you are reclaiming it, and don't scroll, this is crucial. Because the cycle ending is also exposing emotional truth, especially in love, especially in soulmate connections, and whether you're single, separated, healing, or questioning, this message is for you if love has felt complicated, delayed, or disappointing. Because the love that required you to chase, beg, over-explain, or shrink was never meant to stay, it was meant to reveal what love is not. So that when true alignment appears, you recognize it immediately by how calm it feels, and listen. To this, your next soulmate connection will not arrive in chaos, it will arrive in clarity, and that's why the universe had to clear emotional clutter first, and don't scroll, because here's the emotional revelation you've been avoiding. Part of you is afraid of peace, because struggle has been familiar, but peace feels like stepping into a life you're not sure you deserve yet, and your heart needs this right now because you do deserve it, not because you were perfect, but because you were willing to grow, and listen to this. Archangel Michael is saying the reason the cycle is ending now is because you finally stopped abandoning yourself to keep others comfortable, you finally started listening to your intuition instead of dismissing it, and the universe responds quickly when self-respect becomes non-negotiable, and don't scroll. Because after this phase, communication shifts, you'll notice people either step up or fade out, and both are answers, and your heart needs this right now because closure will not come through explanations, it will come through acceptance, and listen carefully, what's meant for you will not require you to chase clarity, clarity will meet you halfway, and don't scroll. Because the next part will reveal what opens once this cycle fully closes, including the moment you realize why everything had to unfold exactly the way it did, and trust this, when the door finally shuts, you won't feel panic, you'll feel relief, and that relief will be your confirmation that Archangel Michael's warning was also your liberation. Don't scroll. Listen to this, because if you've made it this far, the universe is intentionally keeping your attention, this message is for you, and your heart needs this right now more than ever, because part 3 is where the truth stops whispering and starts revealing itself, and listen to this. Archangel Michael is now shifting the message from warning to preparation, from awareness to activation, because an ending without understanding creates fear, but an ending with revelation creates freedom, and don't scroll. Because this phase you're entering is the most misunderstood part of spiritual awakening, the moment when things seem calm on the surface but intense underneath, where nothing dramatic is happening outwardly yet everything inside you is reorganizing, values are shifting, priorities are changing, tolerance for disrespect is dissolving, and your heart needs this right now because you've been questioning why you don't react the way you used to, why arguments don't hook you anymore, why drama feels exhausting instead of entertaining. And listen to this, this is not you becoming cold, this is you becoming clear, and the cycle ending is stripping away emotional attachments that were built from survival, not love, and don't scroll, stay with me, because this is where destiny begins adjusting its route to meet the version of you that finally knows their worth, and here's the part no one told you. When a cycle is truly ending, temptation increases, old people resurface, old messages appear, old emotions flare up unexpectedly, not as a sign you're meant to go back, but as a final audit of your growth, and your heart needs this right now because part of you still wonders if you imagined the signs, if you're overthinking, if you should just be patient a little longer, but Archangel Michael says this clearly. Patience is not meant to be used to tolerate what drains your spirit, and don't scroll, because the universe is now watching how you respond without emotional reactivity, how you choose peace over proving a point, how you walk away without explaining yourself, and those choices are not small, they are contracts, spiritual agreements that signal readiness for what comes next, and listen to this. Angel numbers during this phase may feel relentless, like the universe is knocking louder, 77 reminding you that spiritual mastery comes from trust, 8 hours 88 minutes signaling karmic balance being restored, debts repaid, cycles closed cleanly, and your heart needs this right now because deep down you're afraid that once this cycle ends, you'll be alone, unsupported, or unseen, but Archangel Michael is revealing something important. You were never meant to be carried by people who couldn't meet you emotionally, you were meant to be met, and don't scroll. This is where soulmate energy shifts dramatically, because soulmates are not always lovers, sometimes they are mirrors, catalysts, temporary teachers who awaken you and then exit once the lesson is complete. And if someone left without closure, without explanation, without accountability, that absence was the closure, and your heart needs this right now because you've been replaying conversations that never happened, waiting for apologies that never came. But listen carefully. Closure is not something someone gives you, it's something you claim the moment you stop waiting, and don't scroll, because once you emotionally release what never fully chose you, your energy becomes available to what will, and this is where attraction changes, not because you're trying, but because you're aligned. And listen to this. The next love, the next connection, the next opportunity will feel steady, not confusing, calm, not addictive, mutual, not one-sided, and your heart needs this right now because you've been conditioned to equate intensity with destiny. But Archangel Michael is correcting that belief. Peace is not boring, it's sacred, and don't scroll, because this part is critical. After this cycle ends, you may grieve, not because you want the past back, but because you're honoring the version of yourself that didn't know better yet, and that grief is not regression, it's integration, it's how wisdom settles into the body. And listen to this. If you felt the urge to clean, declutter, reorganize, distance yourself, or spend more time alone, those are not mood swings, they are energetic signals that space is being made. And your heart needs this right now because the universe cannot deliver what's next if there's no room to receive it. And don't scroll, because what's coming next requires emotional availability, discernment, and courage, and you are closer than you think, closer than your doubts suggest. And listen carefully. When the cycle finally closes, you won't need an announcement, you'll feel it in your body, a lightness, a quiet certainty, a sense of, I'm done, and that feeling will be your confirmation that the warning has transformed into wisdom. And don't scroll, because part 4 will reveal the moment when destiny responds to your release, and that moment will change how you understand everything that came before. Don't scroll, listen to this, because if you are here right now, this message is unfolding exactly as it's meant to. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now. Because part 4 is where destiny starts responding to your courage, not loudly, not all at once, but subtly, powerfully, in ways that feel almost unreal at first. And listen to this. Archangel Michael is stepping in not to warn anymore, but to shield, because once a cycle ends, vulnerability increases before strength fully settles, and you may notice this strange quiet after the emotional storm, where you're not as reactive, not as desperate for answers, not as attached to outcomes, and that silence may feel uncomfortable because you're used to noise, chaos, and emotional intensity. But don't scroll. This is important. This quiet is not emptiness, it's alignment, it's the space where divine redirection can finally land, and your heart needs this right now because you've been mistaking peace for boredom, calm for stagnation. But Archangel Michael is revealing that this calm is a sacred pause, a reset point where your nervous system is relearning safety. And listen to this. This is the phase where the universe watches your self-talk, the way you speak to yourself when no one is around, because the cycle didn't just involve people or situations, it involved the stories you told yourself about who you are, what you deserve, and how love is supposed to feel. And don't scroll. Because old internal voices may try to return, whispering doubt, guilt, or fear, saying, maybe you were wrong, maybe you asked for too much, maybe you should go back. But your heart needs this right now because those voices are not intuition, they are echoes of a version of you that survived by minimizing yourself. And Archangel Michael says clearly, do not confuse familiar pain with truth. And listen to this. Angel numbers during this phase may slow down or suddenly intensify, appearing at moments of decision rather than moments of emotion, 111 showing up when you choose yourself, 6 hours 66 minutes appearing when you're tempted to fall back into people-pleasing, 9 hours 99 minutes signaling completion and spiritual graduation, and don't scroll. Because this is where soulmate energy becomes undeniable, not dramatic, not chaotic, but unmistakably steady. You may feel an internal knowing rather than an external spark, and that's because the universe is no longer testing you through attraction, it's aligning you through resonance, and your heart needs this right now because you've been trained to believe love must come with anxiety, anticipation, and emotional highs and lows. But Archangel Michael is correcting that belief. Real love does not confuse your spirit, and listen to this. If someone from the past tries to re-enter now, notice how your body responds before your mind does, because your body remembers what your heart tried to excuse, and don't scroll. Because the greatest shift in this phase is discernment, not emotional reaction. You are learning to observe without attaching, to feel without drowning, to care without sacrificing yourself, and this is not coldness, this is mastery. And your heart needs this right now because you've been afraid that becoming wiser means becoming less loving, but the truth is the opposite. You are becoming more loving by finally including yourself. And listen to this. Archangel Michael is also revealing that opportunities will begin to appear disguised as simple choices, not grand miracles yet, but small moments where you choose differently than before. You speak up instead of staying silent. You walk away instead of explaining, you rest instead of forcing progress, and don't scroll. Because these moments are spiritual turning points, and the universe measures readiness not by intention, but by behavior, and your heart needs this right now because you've been waiting for a sign that you're doing it right, but the sign is already here. You no longer feel the urge to chase closure, and listen to this. Once the cycle fully ends, gratitude will replace resentment, not because what happened was okay, but because you finally see what it taught you, and that clarity will unlock the next phase of your life faster than effort ever could, and don't scroll. Because Part 5 will reveal the moment when the universe mirrors your inner shift outwardly, through people, timing, and unexpected alignment, and when that happens, you'll understand why Archangel Michael asked you to trust the ending before showing you the beginning. Don't scroll. Listen to this, because if you're still here, the universe is intentionally holding your focus. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now, because Part 5 is where the outer world finally begins to mirror the inner shift you've been making quietly, patiently, without applause, and listen to this. Archangel Michael is revealing that when a cycle truly ends, reality responds in subtle but undeniable ways, and that's why things may suddenly feel off in places that once felt normal. Routines feel empty, conversations feel shallow, goals feel misaligned, not because you're lost, but because you've outgrown the container you were in. And don't scroll. This is important. This phase can feel confusing because nothing is technically wrong, yet everything feels ready to change, and your heart needs this right now because you've been questioning yourself for feeling disconnected without a clear reason. But Archangel Michael says clearly, clarity doesn't always arrive as an answer, sometimes it arrives as a feeling you can't ignore, and listen to this. This is the phase where the universe begins rearranging people around you, not dramatically, but deliberately. Some connections deepen effortlessly, others fade without conflict, and those quiet endings are not failures, they are evidence of alignment taking over where effort used to be required. And don't scroll. Because soulmate energy becomes especially active here, and not in the way movies portray it, but in the way peace announces itself. You may feel drawn to someone who doesn't trigger anxiety, someone whose presence feels grounding instead of intoxicating, or you may feel a deep inner readiness even before that person appears, and your heart needs this right now because you've been mistaking emotional intensity for connection. But Archangel Michael is saying this clearly. What's meant for you will not require you to abandon yourself to be chosen, and listen to this, angel numbers in this phase often show up during moments of decision, not emotion, 12-12 when you're choosing alignment over attachment, 10-10 when a new chapter quietly begins, 8-18 when karmic balance is finalizing, and don't scroll. Because something else begins to happen here, your intuition gets louder, sharper, faster, you sense things before they unfold, you feel when something isn't right without needing proof, and your heart needs this right now because you were taught to doubt that voice, to explain it away, to prioritize logic over knowing. But Archangel Michael is restoring trust between you and your inner guidance, and listen to this. This restoration may feel lonely at times, because not everyone can follow you into this frequency, and that loneliness can tempt you to reconnect with people simply to feel familiar again, but don't scroll. This is a test of self-honor, not endurance, and your heart needs this right now because you're learning that solitude is not the same as abandonment, sometimes it's sanctuary, and listen to this. This is also the phase where your past begins to make sense, patterns reveal their purpose, heartbreak reveals its instruction, delays reveal their protection, and you may suddenly realize that if things had worked out the way you wanted back then, you wouldn't be who you are now, and don't scroll. Because that realization is powerful, it dissolves resentment without forcing forgiveness, it creates peace without rewriting history, and your heart needs this right now because you've been carrying emotional weight that no longer belongs to you, and Archangel Michael is saying, you don't need to carry proof of pain to justify your growth, and listen to this. Opportunities will begin appearing that feel aligned but unfamiliar, invitations that excite and scare you equally, choices that require faith instead of certainty, and don't scroll, because the universe is not asking you to leap blindly, it's asking you to trust the version of yourself that survived the cycle and learn from it. And your heart needs this right now because you're closer to the breakthrough than you think, closer than your doubts suggest, and listen carefully. When the universe mirrors your inner shift outwardly, it won't come with fireworks, it will come with ease, and that ease will feel strange at first, almost suspicious, but that's how you'll know the cycle has truly ended, and don't scroll, because part 6 will reveal what happens when ease replaces struggle, and how quickly life begins to move once resistance is gone. Don't scroll. Listen to this, because if you're still here, something inside you already knows this message is unfolding in real time, this message is for you, and your heart needs this right now, because part 6 is where the shift becomes undeniable, where ease slowly replaces struggle and you realize just how heavy you've been living without even noticing it. And listen to this, Archangel Michael is revealing that when resistance finally dissolves, life doesn't explode all at once. It flows, and that flow can feel unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable at first, because you were conditioned to believe progress must be painful and love must be earned through endurance, and don't scroll, this is important. Because this phase often feels deceptively quiet, like nothing big is happening, yet everything is aligning beneath the surface, timing syncs up effortlessly, conversations happen at the right moment, doors open without force, and your heart needs this right now because you've spent so long pushing, proving, waiting, and hoping that part of you doesn't trust ease yet, but Archangel Michael is saying clearly, ease is not a trick, it's a reward for alignment, and listen to this. This is the phase where your nervous system begins to relax, where you don't wake up bracing for disappointment, where anxiety loosens its grip, and you start responding instead of reacting, and don't scroll. Because this calm may feel strange, even boring, and your mind may try to recreate chaos just to feel familiar again, but your heart needs this right now because peace doesn't announce itself loudly, it whispers, and if you're not careful, you'll mistake stability for stagnation. And listen to this, angel numbers during this phase often confirm movement, not urgency. 202 appearing when patience is required. 616 showing up when emotional balance is restored. 19 reminding you that a chapter has truly closed, and don't scroll, because something profound happens here. You stop romanticizing the past, memories lose their emotional charge, and people who once triggered longing now feel neutral, and that neutrality is not indifference, it's freedom. And your heart needs this right now because you've been afraid that healing means forgetting, but healing actually means remembering without pain. And listen to this. This is also where soulmate energy stabilizes, not through dramatic reunions or emotional declarations, but through clarity. You know what you want, what you won't tolerate, and what you no longer need to negotiate. And don't scroll, because if someone enters your life now, they'll meet you where you are, not where you were wounded, and if someone from the past reaches out, you'll notice the difference immediately. You won't feel pulled, you'll feel informed, and your heart needs this right now because that shift proves the cycle has ended internally, even if the world hasn't caught up yet. And listen to this, this is the phase where your intuition becomes your default, not something you second guess. You trust your timing, your feelings, your inner no, and your inner yes, and don't scroll. Because the universe is responding to that trust by speeding things up gently, opportunities align faster, manifestations feel closer, and you may notice that what once took months of effort now unfolds in days, and your heart needs this right now because you've been conditioned to believe ease means shortcuts, but Archangel Michael says clearly, ease is efficiency when you're aligned. And listen to this. This phase may also bring moments of grief, not for what you lost, but for how long you stayed, how much you tolerated, how deeply you doubted yourself. And don't scroll, this grief is sacred, it's the final release of self-betrayal, and once it passes, compassion for yourself replaces regret. And your heart needs this right now because self-forgiveness is the final seal on the ending cycle. And listen carefully. After this point, life does not return to the way it was, even if circumstances look similar. You are different, and that difference changes everything. And don't scroll, because part 7 will reveal the final confirmation, the unmistakable sign that the universe gives when it knows you're ready for what comes next. And when that moment arrives, you'll understand why Archangel Michael asked you to stay present all the way to the end. Don't scroll, listen to this all the way through, because if you leave early, you'll miss the moment this message locks into your spirit. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now more than ever, because this final part is not about warning, not about preparation, but about confirmation. And listen carefully. Archangel Michael is stepping forward one last time to seal what has already shifted, to tell you that the cycle is not about to end. It has already ended internally, and the outer world is simply catching up, and that's why things feel different now, not dramatic, not chaotic, but quietly certain, like a deep knowing settling into your chest. And don't scroll, this is important. Because the universe always sends a final sign when it knows you're ready, and that sign is peace without explanation, relief without resolution, clarity without confrontation. And your heart needs this right now because you've been waiting for a big moment, a message, an apology, a breakthrough conversation. But listen to this. The ending did not require permission, it required acceptance. And the moment you stopped begging reality to change and allowed yourself to change instead, the contract was closed. And don't scroll. Because this is where destiny responds, not with noise, but with alignment. You may notice that things you once prayed for no longer feel urgent, people you once missed no longer have emotional power over you, fears that once ruled your decisions now feel distant. and that emotional neutrality is not emptiness, it's mastery, and your heart needs this right now because this is what freedom actually feels like. Calm, grounded, steady. Not euphoric, not desperate, just real, and listen to this. The soulmate energy connected to you now is no longer karmic, no longer meant to teach through pain. It is aligned with peace, mutual effort, and emotional safety, and whether that person has already entered your life, is on their way, or is you finally choosing yourself, this is the love the universe was protecting you for. And don't scroll, because here's the truth that changes everything. When a cycle truly ends, you don't feel the need to announce it, explain it, or prove it. You simply live differently. You stop repeating the story, you stop reopening the wound, you stop questioning your worth, and your heart needs this right now because the final test is subtle. The universe will watch how you move after the pain is gone, how you treat peace, whether you rush to fill the quiet or honor it, and listen to this. Angel numbers may appear one last time as confirmation, not guidance. 1111 as alignment locked in, 9 hours 99 minutes as completion sealed, 101 as a new chapter officially open, and don't scroll, because this ending is also a beginning that doesn't demand struggle, and Archangel Michael wants you to hear this clearly. You are protected in what you release and supported in what you choose next. And your heart needs this right now because part of you still wonders, what if I'm wrong? But the calm you feel is the answer, the lack of anxiety is the proof, the absence of emotional chaos is the confirmation, and listen to this, the universe does not rush what is real, and what's coming next will meet you with ease, not confusion, and don't scroll, because this is the moment viewers usually leave, but if you stay, let this truth settle in your body. You survived the cycle, you learned the lesson, you honored your growth, and you are no longer who you were when it began, and that means the ending worked, and the reason this message found you, the reason you stayed until the end, is because your soul was ready to close the door gently, without fear, without regret, and step forward lighter than ever before. So take one more breath, let it go, trust the silence, and remember this. The universe doesn't end cycles to punish you, it ends them to free you, and what comes next will prove why this ending had to happen exactly now.